I couldn't be more delighted to have Mr. Brian Medavoy.
There's about 4 quotes that changed my life. One quote was Maya Angelou said, "People will always forget what you said, people will always forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." And that quote pretty much was a big impact on my life. As I was going through, I graduated from school, from college, and then I started in the mailroom at ICM. Before that, while I was at UCLA, I worked for Mike Ovitz at CAA. I went to ICM because they didn't have drivers. You know, I mean, they had drivers, so I didn't have to drive everywhere. Like you did at CAA. I went to Intertalent, and in Intertalent, I ended up getting fired. I told my father something confidential and got back to the owner of the company. And nobody would hire me at that time except for a man named Erwin More, who I've been with for 25 years. So I worked for Erwin at Larry Thompson organization. At this time, there was only 5 management companies. You know, now there's like 500,000. I signed unknowns, Tobey Maguire and Jason Bateman and a few others. And Craig Schwimmer, they were casting the river runs through it, and River Phoenix passed away, and my father never gave me anything, so he never gave me a penny or a client to this day. So I've been pretty bold about using my relationships, and so I called Redford, who I grew up with, and I said, Bob, will you see my client for this part? It was to play Brad Pitt's brother in that, and River Phoenix was supposed to play that, and he passed away. I waited a little while, and he said, that's not how we do it around here. Call the casting director. And I said, well, I've known you, and he said, well, I can't do that. And I said, well, you watch a tape? And he said, sure. And so I put this tape together of Craig, and I drove it down to Redford's office, and he saw me in the lobby, and he called me into his office, and he said, you know what? Because of your tenacity, I'm going to give your client a shot. And he got the movie. And it was at that moment that I realized that I was in my strike zone. I think that God has given us all a gift, and if you understand what your gift is and you use it to help others, you get back spiritually, financially, however you want to look at it. And so from that moment on, I signed unknowns, and I was on my way to William Morris to become an agent. I didn't love the company I was at, and Erwin said, why don't we start our own company? And I said, because we don't have any money. I went to my father's office to ask for money, and he said no, and stole a typewriter from the TriStar mailroom. As I was going up in life, I think because my childhood was so chaotic, it was the only thing I understood was chaos. And so I didn't feel like I deserved all the success that I had, and I sabotaged it in every which way I could. You couldn't hug me, you couldn't love me. And so anytime something good came into my life, I would sabotage it, and you can read between the lines. And I ended up, after recovery, I was just going to drive the country, and I ended up stopping there, and I never left, and I lived there for 7 years. And I came back here about 8 years ago. I had no idea what I was going to do. I wasn't going to do this, that was for sure. And I got some phone calls from Jason Bateman and from my old assistants who said to me, we hear you're back in town, and I said, I am. And they said, if it wasn't for you, we'd never be in this place. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, I helped a lot of people at half of where I'm at. What if I were to go back into this and do it over, with a new pair of eyes, and just do it because I want to help people. And so I started over 8 years ago with nothing, and it's been an amazing ride. And so my story is basically I went up really fast and I went down really hard, and now I'm back, or I'm on my way back.
It's beautiful. That was more things than I knew.
I didn't go back to my friends, who are now running studios and say, hey, I'm back, I had to prove it first. I had to earn my stripes and come back, and so I've always had pretty good self-awareness. I think it's something that you've talked about, it's really important, and so I just hustled it. A casting director named Matt Skrabalik said, I have this actress who's never acted before, and you should meet her. And she met a number of people, and she walked into my office. Her name is Bella Heathcote. And they were casting Dark Shadows. And I did the same thing that I did in Redford with Dick Zanuck, who wouldn't see her. And I asked him 5 times, and finally he saw her, and she ended up booking that movie. So it was that moment again that I realized that I was in the right place. My clients, when you say favorite clients, they all have an understanding of why they're doing this. And I think that Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think it's really important for you to understand why you're doing this. What's your purpose? Why do you get up in the morning? I learned so I could add value, so I can come here and share it with people. There are endless possibilities with social media. I love the storytelling platform that it has. But if you're not willing to be authentic and vulnerable, and you don't want to learn, and you don't want to change your course, and you don't really want to be sincere, it's probably not for you. But for me, I felt a door closing on me, and I had to open up another door. And that's why I love social media. I build stars from stars. I've been here for 53 years, and I've learned how to being a producer and being in the rooms and being raised by a studio head and been in it for so long and looking at people's uniqueness. When I'm in a room with them, I feel like I put myself in a director's chair, and I'm able to look into people's eyes and see, their desire. I can learn so much by people's eyes. They tell you everything. But you can't always see it. I mean, I'll never forget watching David Schwimmer. One audition, he did it 5 different takes, and they were so completely different every take. So there's different reasons for different people. I don't really like to go to all these parties now, but sometimes before I go into a party, I just close my eyes and I just think about connecting with 1 or 2 people. And I usually just sit in one place now because it all comes around. So I think that if you're going to go out, look to make a connection with 1 or 2 people, and relationships are the key. I don't really think it's an actor's job to jot down every single casting director and go at it like a business, but truthfully, I tell my clients to put together a business plan. I think that the actors that have made it in this town are the ones that know how to combine their craft with the way that the town works. When you know how the town works and your craft, and you put those 2 together, it's usually when your career takes off. More so in LA than anywhere else. LA is a business. What would I do in an extra hour?
Yeah, but as a manager.
As a manager?
Yeah, like would it be reading script? Would it be searching for new talent?
I would probably actually sit quietly and actually think.
Okay.
I used to have to just. I remember having to constantly set up generals for clients to prove that I knew and had these relationships, right? And actually today, I just sometimes need to think more about how to build somebody's brand, right? And you'd be amazed at how much of a difference that can actually make, that hour, just to be able to sit down and think about how to capitalize on this moment, or how to keep the momentum going, or how to fill the voids. You have to understand the business that you're in, and you have to know the business you're going to create. There's no doubt about it, right? But I think you have to just be true to who you are, and just keep doing what you're doing in the moment, and you'll end up finding and getting the results that you need. If you're not treating people well, if you're not humble, when you do go down, you're going to stay in that valley a lot longer. And so I think that as you're going up, you need to give more and be more humble, and you'll have more success.